All right, here we go. Sci-fi Express Lane, Jeff Carroll, expressing himself, science fiction writer, B filmmaker, B movie filmmaker, right? I make B movies, I write comic books, all that good stuff. But in addition to all of that, I am a fan, baby. I'm a fan. And people ask how I started writing and how I got into writing. And I'm telling people all the time, man, I started writing because I love watching movies and retelling them and walking in the creative footsteps of some of the best B-movie filmmakers on 42nd Street possible. The ones that made the audience laugh like they were in comedy clubs. It came out with a whole experience. It wasn't just what was on the screen. So that said, I'm going to talk about Avatar franchise, the brand. Avatar, the Blue People, James Cameron, the new movie's coming out this weekend. I got my tickets last night, and I'm excited. I'm ready to go. All right, now, it was almost sold out too, so I was glad I got it. Anyway, I want to talk about the first movie, and kind of, I talked about anticipations, but I kind of felt I neglected to big up the first movie. The first movie was groundbreaking. I remember it was like the first movie I paid to see in the theaters 2 times. I might have seen it 3, I'm not sure, but I know I saw it twice and I paid, and it was the first movie I had done that with since I was little. Only other times I might have seen a movie twice was if I got caught with some friends and they were going to see a movie and I had already seen it. But this was a deliberate second viewing, and it was even cool because I was able to take my mentor, Dr. Leonard Jeffries, to see the movie, and that made it even better. And we saw it in probably a Republican neighborhood. There was definitely no diversity, and they reacted at different parts in the movie, and it made it even better because as they laughed at the monkeys, the tree monkey comments, and all that, to have them win, have the Na'vi win at the end was icing on the cake. We shut all the people up. I mean, I cheered louder than I was at a basketball game. It was amazing. So I have to give this movie props. Now, my Hotep reality, yes, no doubt, it was a white savior movie, no doubt. I don't even think anybody would argue that. Nobody would argue that it was a white savior movie. However, I think it sort of needed to be. However, I think it could have still had a black person as the Sam guy, and I'm gonna explore that, right? I think it could have still had that, but I guess in the context of the movie and the release, this was in the Obama years, and we were still beating down this fear of black people and in power and elected office. These white people who are suffering from fear of black people, fear what black people will do when they're in power. One of the biggest things that I think Barack Obama had to deal with was white people fearing just a thought of a black person being in power. So that was the context of Avatar, right? This is America's first black president. I think he was in his first term, so it was ridiculous. You had Trump running around birtherism, people coming at Michelle, talking about how she looked, and, she didn't have them children. So it was a lot of conspiracy theories. And, this was probably laying the groundwork for flat eartherism and QAnon. Anyway, Let's get all over that. But it's important because when you study film, you got to study the world context to be able to gauge how much of an impact it had on the world. And Avatar had an impact on the world. This was before Black Panther, before we saw Wakanda. We had already, I think we might have met Black Panther. I have to check the release. Well, we might have seen him in Civil War, but I don't even think he was in Civil War. So this is all of that pre stuff, you know? And what I liked about Avatar, right? And this is going to beg the question, can people outside of your community analyze and write about your community in a way that people in the community can't? And that's like, can men write about women, have women characters and see things in female characters that they can't see in themselves? Gay or straight, can gay writers write about their straight community in ways that the straight community can't? And of course, can white writers write about a struggle of color, right? Which, you know, Avatar is exploring colonization. And mind you, as wicked as the company was in Avatar, they were reformed wickedness compared to the conquistadors and King Leopold, right? They were tame compared to what really happened on Earth, you know, because when they came looking for spices from Europe and found gold and found all these other things, De Soto, the conquistador, you know, that came to America after Columbus found it, was no cornball. He was out to conquer, and it was clear. He was out to pillage, take resources, and he didn't really care, right? So he was killing leaders, he was moving on. One of the stories that I'm going to deal with is De Soto versus Tuscaloosa, right? Chief Tuscaloosa, 6'8", they call him the Black Warrior, right? This is real. This is American history, right? I think I'm going to say it's 1545, 1516, somewhere around there, right? You got to remember, Columbus came in 1492, so it was like 1500. So after that, you know, a lot of cats was coming. 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the line, they was exploring because America didn't start slavery until 16-something, 1610, 1613. So it was almost 120 years of you know, exploration, quote unquote, before they figured out they had killed all of the Native Americans off and they needed to replenish. And that's when they started to bring in kidnapped Africans. But that's history. But it's important because that's the setting of Avatar. So if you want to compare, you know, those company, right? Because you understand, De Soto and them, they didn't work for a private company. Private companies came around when England got involved in slavery. But before that, and it's what the founding of a lot of these companies, Shell and BP Gas, these were trading companies of human trafficking. They got their roots bloody when they started making their international connections and starting this global economy, right? So this Avatar, we don't know. Were they trying to corner the market on unobtainium? You know what I'm saying? Was it going to open up a big trade? Because again, humans were never the main trade, even amongst the slave trade. They were more of the working force to get what they really needed, which was sugar, tobacco, and other minerals. And you know, so you'll see that when they use the indigenous to extract the minerals. So they don't really get into that in Avatar. It's really just how they disrespected the people. What else, you know, so what else I like about Avatar, and let's look at the value of it, was the fact that they had a real good look at indigenous spirituality. I think that, to me, is more valuable, it's a bigger takeaway than what you see in the Conqueror Pocahontas storyline, right? that the way the Na'vi talk to their ancestors, the way they talk to the planet, the way they talk to the animals around them, that's revolutionary right there. I don't care a dang on about a white savior. We've been having white saviors in all of our movies. Racism is almost, we numb to it. It's there, but it doesn't have the effect because you've been doing it for so long that it doesn't even have the effect anymore. Of course, you should stop it, but it doesn't have the effect anymore. And I'm repeating myself 3 times because I'm trying to reach Dr. Umar. Because he loves to say things 3 times. So it doesn't have the effect anymore. It doesn't have the effect anymore. It doesn't have the effect anymore, right? Because we're numb to it. We're numb to it. We're numb to it. All right, I can't do that. He does that through his videos. I can't keep doing it. All right, so I love the fact that they had the home tree, right? I love the fact that they allowed their spirits to transfer. Look at the way they looked at life and death. They didn't look at death as death. She went and joined AWA. She's able to communicate with them because her spirit is there. Maybe she'll get reincarnated in a future one. That would be groundbreaking. Now, Black Panther was beautiful, but Black Panther toyed with African spirituality because we as black people are still toying with how deep we want to get, because sure, James Cameron scratched the surface, but if we black people go into spirituality, you look at some of our black comic books, you look at some of our, even with Toni Morrison's Beloved, and she doesn't fully understand, our spirituality, and she uses it almost to scare us. There's a good side to our spirituality as well. Just as our spirits can possess us to do bad things and terrorize us, most people on the planet are good. So even when it comes to spirits, most spirits are good. So we have good possessions just like we have as bad possessions. I think the movie Ghost was an example of a good possession. But that was a white writer. So when black people get into it, I don't even read a lot of African science fiction, but I'm pretty sure there's some African science fiction that goes deeper into African spirituality than Avatar. But Avatar is doing it at a digestible level for us to pull ourselves out of this God in the clouds concept that dominates our imagination from from Christianity. All right, next, let me tell you how they could have cleaned up Avatar and shut the haters down who say it's a white savior film. I get that it was a white savior, no doubt, I don't deny it. However, I think it was necessary because it was speaking to an audience that needed to be seen redoing what their ancestors did. I think when DeSantis, the Florida governor, saw Avatar, it triggered white fragility because they came to grips with what they did to the Native Americans. Now, I don't think that should be a goal of your film to trigger white fragility, but I will say if you tell a story about black people or Native Indigenous Americans and it doesn't trigger white fragility, then you're not telling it correctly. So that's how I'll leave that. Now, how they could have done it without triggering white fragility or going down that line would have been able to trigger black ignorance, right? Have a Herschel Walker type character be this Sam character in Avatar, and he goes and sees what the company is doing to the Na'vi in what happened to his ancestors on Earth. And then he turns the tide because he, as a black spirit in an avatar, is able to pick up the movements and the behaviors of the avatar better than a white person per se, right? And that is what gives him an advantage. And he goes back and sees, and then he becomes this revolutionary, this cooperative thing, this what do you call it? This combatant for Laz Alonso's character may have taken even a different spin. Even though they brought themselves together and saw themselves as brothers, maybe a black person in an avatar would have had a different experience. Maybe an indigenous American will go the route of what is it? Predator movie and make it a Native American right? An indigenous, put a Cherokee there, right? A Cree Indian, right? They find out they have a connection. Yeah, I'm gonna have to give this idea to Owl Going Back, my indigenous American science fiction writer friend, or John Proudstar out in Arizona, who does indigenous American con. But you know, I tap into my Cherokee blood from my Carroll side of the family, so I may write it my daggone self. But I do think it would have been a way for them to show something in Avatar with a different variety. Now, maybe, you know, James Cameron is exploring this in Avatar 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I have no idea. I just hope that they continue it, because that was something that they kind of had over Black Panther and Wakanda Forever. I don't know if they'll continue the battle is on. It's a beautiful battle. Which franchise is going to do better? I know Marvel is probably only going to do 3 Wakanda movies. So in the long run, Avatar may win just because of longevity, or, you know, they've already filmed Avatars 5 and 6. So maybe, I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to let you know. I'm going to come back on Monday. Talk to y'all later. Peace.